Yes, I am ready for light language. Let's get settled.
Okay.
Do this thing. Feel free to call on your oversoul, settle in, and we'll get started with Miriam's light language in a moment.
Goro, pasicai. Taisikrai, vrutikastaira, nia poria, takasisha intono, poi porisicastai, ikaravasintanto. Mais tendria. To caresicai, zikziga, positin tanto no esicastai. O caravasantanto mai la sitirai. Kista no dobbiava sitintantai, che era vasin. Na kirjavasin kastai, ikäreväsin tankai, boriesetikai. Si karavasin tanto, mui borisikistai, ti karavasin tanto keeta. Kaavasin tatia, boriesitanto. Kiravasin tanto, naasita, ekera. Kiravasin tai, kea. Pori papapapa, stastina etti kristaino. Ikäreväsin tanto, ma ikäreväsanta. Karavasin tanto moi karasikästairo e karavasai. Natode posikastin tanto moi karavasin take. E karavasin tanto mais te karavasin tai karavasin kastaro puri papapakastin tanto moi kara. E karavasin tanto kai pui parisikastai e karavasin tanto. Puri papapasasikastina diavasin tanto pui karavasa. Ekara priesetitia. Kirvasin tanto kestadai pripapapapa na titarita kestaino. Ekaravasin tanto maikarasan tanto. Prisitai kestadai. Orisikestai kirvasin tanto maikarastetira. Na voisitai no karavasin tanto maikarastai.
All right. It is a pleasure as always to be here. We're going to continue to settle in on this end. Feel free, if you haven't already, to call in your oversoul, disconnect from the collective, disconnect from anyone else you may feel floating around, that you feel called to disconnect from. Call in your truest soul essence. Let it land into that space. What we're going to speak to today is similar to a concept that in many ways is just a cliche that floats around many different communities and pockets of thought of staying in your own lane. But we want to unpack it. Instead of staying in your own lane, as staying in your particular racetrack. So we're going to unpack this metaphor just a bit, weave it through, and while we do, notice any energetics that are here for you, notice any activations that are here for you, and continue settling in, finding your peace. Nurturing your body through its uncertainty. Settling back. Feeling your truth. this idea of staying in your racetrack really has to do with the very specific reality that you find yourself within right now. Now, there are countless things that you could be doing, and many pockets of many industries telling you that you should be doing these things, need to be doing these things in order to be who you are right now, in order to stabilize the reality you find yourself within, or to make it better. But the reason why we're not just saying to stay in your own lane is because this unique reality configuration that you find yourself within here and now is precisely tuned to exactly who you are, to the conflict within your being, between your body and your soul, to the prioritization of values between your body and your soul. Your body highly valuing things like survival, social acceptance, and your soul valuing exactly what it does, the essence that you came here to radiate into this world, but to first land into this body. And you can look at this pocket of your reality, the exact configuration that's here. Every single thing from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed, as you check in throughout the day, as you feel various emotions throughout the day, as you feel everything that's coming, as you make decisions throughout all the various aspects of your life, all of this is your racetrack. If you've read or remember Transition with Soul, the channel document, we call this a reality configuration, but today we'll just call it a racetrack. Now, the reason why your body isn't very fine-tuned for this racetrack is because often it doesn't know what racetrack it's in. It doesn't know what race it's running. And it assumes that your racetrack, the race that you're running here and now, the thing that you're doing in this reality configuration here and now is the same as what everyone else is doing. And if you were to do what someone else is doing in their life, that would show up and make changes in your racetrack. But these are very different landscapes. The twists and turns of every single racetrack are very, very different, and they're fine-tuned to you. So what you'll notice in modern marketing, something that David and Miriam have been unpacking a lot in the past couple of weeks, are messages out there that tell you all of the things that you need to be doing, and that point out some of the twists and turns in your racetrack, some of the challenges, some of the things that you're anxious about, make them wrong and offer a solution for how to make them better. But the only thing that these systems and these ways of being that you may find your body being compelled to at various times, that you may find your body hooked into, the only thing that these systems and strategies can really do is to get you to go off of your racetrack and to run someone else's race. So we're not just saying stay in your own lane on the race that everyone's running. We're saying stay on your own racetrack and realize that you're doing something different than every other person on this planet. Life is that precise. And your circumstances, the things that are triggering you the most throughout your day, throughout your week, The things that are calling to you the most throughout your day, throughout your week, are specifically tuned for you, for your conflict between your body and soul. The top priority in your own evolution of becoming who you truly are on this planet. This is the reason why the question is always what's here. This is the reason why it's never about the things that you need to be doing or the latest craze or trend. It's always about what's here for you, because of the race that you're running right now in the exact configuration of your life hasn't been done in this exact same way to bring up these exact conflicts within you on this planet before. It is certainly not the same as the marketing messages that may appeal to the pieces of you that are most scared, uncertain, doubtful of what's to come, seeing certain doom at every corner and twist and turn. What's here for you right now is incredibly, incredibly unique. So as you look out into the world and you see other examples of people in their own races, on their own racetracks, living their life, it's tempting to compare and contrast. But there's no real good way to do that. The things that are possible in your racetrack aren't possible in others, and the things that are possible in theirs aren't possible in yours. There's not a cross-compatibility of strategy for how to navigate two completely different landscapes. And this is the complexity that starts to become clear, the precision that starts to become clear when you recognize that life is really an entire bubble, that your reality, exactly how it is a very specific configuration that is built for you. And even if two people are having the exact same experience, even if you can imagine a world where two people had the exact same experience, they woke up in the exact same style of bed, in the exact same style of house, went to the exact same set of appliances, worked on the exact same job, the internal world of these two people would still be very different, and the things that their soul is highlighting within them in any given moment would be very different. So it's not even just about your physical circumstances or the things that you see or the things that you do. It's also about the very specific things internally that your soul is poking, saying, hey, notice this particular thing that's happening. Hey, remember this particular thing that has happened to you in the past and how it relates to this particular thing that's happening here and now. Feel this internal conflict that's here between your unique body configuration and your unique soul configuration. Your life, what's happening to you now, is very, very unique. So stay in your racetrack. This isn't to say that every single person's experience is so radically different that life can't be communicated about. You're all having a very similar style of experience. Your racetracks are designed to do something very particular inside that's common among everyone. But the thing that's here for you right now is specifically here for you. Your oversoul is dropping in reminders of that thing in every single moment, confronting very specific pieces of you for a very specific reason. And that reason, across every single person's racetrack, is for you to become more of you as the soul, for you to be able to land your soul's essence into your body and radiate that out into the world in that order. So what this means is that as you look out into the world and see the countless ways of doing things and the various value judgments of things that are good and bad societally, that really has no bearing on your race. If you're eating sleeves of Oreos in your race, that doesn't mean that you need to manically figure out how to become as healthy as possible in as short of a time period as possible, because that's not the point of your race. If it is, you would know. There will be races that you will run that may be about health, bringing more vitality into your being, supporting your body to land larger energetics or to have more energy to be able to do more at a particular time. But the societal value judgments of things that are good and bad really have no bearing on the race that you're running here. Your race is dialed specifically to you. So even as we're speaking, and we'll speak in these formats in Q&A, we're checking in very directly with your particular oversoul. And we may speak a little bit more broadly so that you can listen to someone else's particular messages and the things that are here for them and still be able to reflect and sort in your own life. But the messages that are here for you, the truth of what's here for you, is very specifically dialed to you. Your oversoul's trying to guide you along a very specific winding journey through a very specific racetrack where every twist and turn of that race is about you becoming who you were becoming, specifically you. Rewiring your body to become more of your soul. When you know this, you can look out into the world and see all the things that are good, see all the things that are bad, and recognize that they don't apply to you unless they do, unless it's already here. You can look out at all of the many things that you could be doing and recognize that they don't apply to you unless they do. You can look at all of the metrics of fame and wealth and realize that comparing and contrasting that isn't helpful because they're drastically different races. Your soul is trying to bring you through a very specific journey. And as you press into what we call essential radiance and begin bringing your soul's essence out into the world, there's a significant amount of value in that you're transmitting, that you're bringing to this planet. And as the world begins to recognize the value in soul to a greater degree, fame and wealth will follow into the purest representations of soul. It's happening over time. But regardless, there's no external metric on your life that's really valid to compare and contrast or to judge how good or bad you are doing externally, because your race is incredibly unique. So again, we're not saying stay in your own lane on the race that everyone's running, because your racetrack only has one lane. And you are occupying the totality of it. As you settle deeper into the recognition that you are doing exactly what you're meant to be doing and that your circumstances are perfectly crafted for you, all of those value judgments about how good or how bad you are doing relative to others start to fall away, and you can dial in with even greater precision and do exactly what's here for you. Knowing that chasing vanity metrics or chasing social acceptance can only take you to other racetracks. And why would you leave the racetrack that's perfectly crafted for you to become who you're becoming to go to someone else's racetrack that's crafted for them to become who they are becoming? Why would you run a race that's built with the purpose of helping them become who they are becoming? There is a feeling that David's been feeling coming online for quite some time that he's described as compassion. And David and Miriam have been unpacking this a little bit on the show recently. But that deep, grounded understanding can really only land into this foundation, understanding that every single person is running the exact race that's fine-tuned for them. Now, what you can see externally, when you look at other people running their races, is whether or not they're staying in their one lane within their racetrack. You can feel that, whether someone is deeply aligned with their own soul's guidance and mission or not. But the specifics of what that looks like don't really matter. And the specifics of what everyone's races may look like don't really apply to you and your own racetrack. There is a settled, calm, peaceful perspective, wisdom that comes with recognizing that distinction between comparing and contrasting and just feeling the truth of whether or not someone's running their race or not, whether or not they're deeply in alignment with their own soul's truth or not. Recognizing that if you are deeply in alignment with what's here for you and someone else is deeply in alignment with what's there for them, that you can witness that kinship, recognize you're doing the same thing, that you can spot others on the same path, regardless of the belief systems, regardless of the opinions, regardless of anything. Light can spot light. One of the greatest misconceptions on your planet is that everyone should be having the exact same experience or outcomes, because the comparing and contrasting of those circumstances is the most important metric, but it's not. The most important metric for forward movement in light, in truth, is whether or not someone or you are right on the pulse of what's here. Running their own race, running your own race. there's a lot that can start happening as this perspective lands more and more and more. One is the outcome that some seem to believe, for whatever reason, that would come from everyone having the exact same circumstances and the exact same outcomes, namely unity. A peaceful recognition of each other. Because when you look at someone else who's living their life and pressing deeply into whatever's here for them, regardless of the metrics, regardless of any comparison that the brain may try to spot, there is a kinship. Light sees light. And it doesn't matter what the opinions are. It doesn't matter what the beliefs are. It doesn't matter what values are being expressed out into the world. There's a recognition that you're both playing your part in radiating something very specific that's guided by the exact same source. That there's a reason why this person is radiating out something that's slightly conflicting with what you're radiating out, because both of those messages are needed and will refine the collective through time. Both of those expressions are needed and will refine very different pockets of this collective through time. You're all moving into greater and greater light, into a greater recognition of soul. And light can spot light. There's also a letting yourself off the hook from having to be or have or do or build certain things that aren't here for you. Because you recognize that if you're on the pulse of what's here, you're already ahead, you're already doing it. That's it. That's forward movement, that's progress. That's as fast as you can possibly go, and you're doing what you actually came here to do. Not just building vanity metrics, not just looking good externally, not just looking good in the comparisons between others, but actively doing arguably one of the most challenging things you can do on your planet, which is to actually become who you are and to radiate that out into the world. You're already doing it. So you let yourself off the hook of all of those vanity metrics. When you lay this foundation of running your own race and recognizing that your race is incredibly unique, all of the embodiments that seem to be good, that you must figure out a way to have, such as compassion, naturally come online, just like everything else, as an organic extension of your own life's journey. But there is a ruthless, in a way, judgment that also comes online. That's a deep discernment, because you draw the line very cleanly between the first and second paradigm. You draw the line very cleanly between those who are actively doing what they came here to do and those doing something else. It's very possible for you to be loving and compassionate and working in unity, recognizing the light in others regardless of their circumstances or your circumstances and the difference and comparing and contrasting between the two. And to also be deeply taking a stand in every single moment for light and not pretending that the games that others may play are okay. Calling out everything that you feel compelled to call out. speaking into everything you feel compelled to speak into, radiating your light into every pocket of the collective that you feel called to radiate into of that something else. Light sees light. Light recognizes the light in itself, but light doesn't play games. There's a deeply grounded, peaceful, calm wisdom that comes from just understanding the mechanics of your reality to an even greater degree. Settling into what really is here and not getting lost in all of the vanity metrics that seem to be important from earlier stages of life. There's an updating of your reality context that's happening more and more and more. Learning more about the world, not just physically, but also etherically, and not just etherically, but also physically, and bridging that massive education process of your spiritual awakening and of learning about the world into a recognition of light here on this planet in others and in yourself, continuing to run your own race, and allowing yourself to take a stand against everything else when it's time. That's a piece of what radiating your essence out into this world is. Radiating your light into something else. The vast majority of people are doing something else because they think they have to, or they think it will get them somewhere that is worth going. Your light and the light of everyone else that you witness pressing into their own evolutionary edge, becoming themselves, will absolutely 100% wake up that vast majority of people into recognizing that they too can be themselves, that they too can embody the light that they are, where light sees light, and light relentlessly takes a stand against everything else. No, I will not be that. I will not play that game myself internally. I know what my light is. I know what's here, and I'm not going to pretend that running another race is going to get me anywhere worth going. I'm here to run my race, to acknowledge those running theirs, and to let time bring us the reality that we all ultimately feel coming, which is a mass transition from the first to the second paradigm, a mass transition from something else into light across all of those who the only thing in between them and embodying their essence is a misconception held as truth. Those of you here on the cutting edge, as we call it, are those of you embodying that truth relentlessly first to be able to model for the larger pocket of culture that's quickly going to do the exact same thing. But please remember to run your race and no one else's. Without that recognition, everything else falls apart. Everything that we've spoken into, the compassion, the unity, and the deep discernment, your life's mission and purpose, all of that rests on your understanding and embodiment that you are here to run your race and no one else's. And as the racetrack changes, as your circumstances change, and you find yourself on the dotted line in between two realities, as we've called it before, as you find yourself in that dotted line, remember that even if you aren't in a racetrack and everything is really in flux, that your lane is still there, your race is still there. It is the exact same as it always is. Trust yourself, dial into your truth, allow things to negotiate and reassemble. Then, as the new racetrack comes in, as your circumstances change, as you find yourself navigating slightly different aspects of your life, slightly differently, as you find yourself with greater fame or greater wealth or greater expression, in a different place with slightly different relationships, as that new reality configuration comes together and you settle in, now your job is simply to run that race. Being in the light as you, fulfilling your life's mission and purpose, is radically simple. Run your race and no one else's. And as you run your race and recognize what you are doing, all of the other spiritual teachings that are held as enlightenment or ways of being that you should have, like compassion and unity and discernment, all of those things just naturally come online. You naturally recognize that regardless of another person's circumstances or the challenges that they're facing, if you can feel the light within them, that they are trusting themselves in those circumstances, it doesn't matter how you can compare or contrast. They are light. They are doing it. And you can celebrate that within them. That's compassion. That's the recognition of what they're doing. You can look to the rest of the world and realize that you are actively specializing in this and pressing forward first. So those who really don't know simply don't know, but they will. And as they become aware of that, you'll feel it. You'll feel when they are making that choice consciously, and then you can celebrate or have discernment with those people as they make that choice consciously. All of these embodiments, every spiritual teaching comes online naturally within your being, within your embodiment, as you run your race and no one else's. That's all that's ever been here, and that's all that ever will be here. That discernment and that relentless disagreement with everything else outside of that race starts internally. Starts with you. It's what we call landing your soul's essence into your body. Feeling when your body wishes to do something else, to run a different race, or to modify the track just a little bit to make it easier, or to get just a little bit more, to add just a few other twists and turns to the race to make sure that it's staying up to date with the things that it has to do and be. Relentlessly saying no to everything else other than the race that you're here and already running. And as that stabilizes and you land your soul into your body, as your body becomes your soul, it naturally transitions, your race naturally transitions into an external expression. But everything that we talk about here, there are no systems or strategies. It's all the same thing. Trust yourself and run your race. There is nothing else. When you recognize that, you are free from all of the comparisons and manipulation that come at you. And you become a very pure embodiment of light that not only can be recognized within, but can be spotted externally. Others can see you running your race, can feel that you are running your race, because light can spot light. Our deepest intention with this entire body of work continually is to lay context for the things that are naturally emerging within you as you run that race. But there are no requirements here from us, because we recognize that what's already in your race is more important than anything else that may be coming down the line. Your future racetracks. So when we say trust yourself, we mean it. Because all that's really here is to stay in your racetrack and to keep going.
If you enjoyed this channel night, there's more where that came from at thesecondparadigm.com. Join the club. We'd love to have you.